Good morning, Diamond. At this moment, we are having a face to face discussion with some of your classmates. So, I intended to create this video for your self learning of the continuation of our topic last week, which is all about judging the validity of the material listened to. So, are you ready? Before we continue our discussion, let's have a quick recall by answering the following questions. Question number 1. Which of the following statements clearly defines generalization? Is it letter A? Generalization is limited in scope and involves specific details. Is it letter B? Generalization is a convincing statement that sums up an idea. Letter C. Generalization is a broad statement about a group of people or things and it states something they have in common. And letter D. Generalization is a statement supported by irrelevant pieces of evidence. What's your answer? If your answer is letter C, you got the correct answer. Let's have question number 2. A valid generalization is supported by letter A, specific facts, letter B, relevant data, letter C, logical thinking, or letter D, all of the above. If your answer is letter D, you got the correct answer. Let's take question number 3. When drawing conclusions or when drawing generalizations, continue the sentence. Letter A, we use what we know in our heads. Letter B, we utilize what we have read in the text. Letter C, we depend on the information given to us. Or letter D, is it both A and B? That's right. Both A and B are the correct answers. Now, let's reflect on the questions that we have answered. About the 3 questions. Who can who can make generalizations? Let me correct this one. Who can make generalizations, class? Yeah, that's correct. No, class. All of us can create or can generalize things, not only the professionals or your teachers or someone who is expert in generalizations, but you as a student can also create your simple generalizations. Actually, we are doing this already in our daily living, no? We can generalize things, we can create conclusions, we can sum up things, no, based on what we are experiencing, based on what we have read, or based on the information that we gathered, no, in the surroundings or in our environment. So you as a student can make generalization, me as a teacher can make a generalization, all of us can make generalization. How can we integrate our past lessons in making generalizations? Mm. As we all know that our topic is all about judging the validity of the evidence, no, listened to in the material. So, what is the relationship of making generalizations in the validity of the evidence? Maybe you have your answer in your mind, but I would like to add some more. Yeah. Of course, class, in order for us to make a generalization, we have to gather pieces of evidence first or pieces of information that would support our generalization, right? In order for you to come up with a true, valid, and in order for the people to believe in your generalization, you have to support it with pieces of evidence, right? Because pieces of evidence are facts that support a certain argument or a claim. Our claim or our argument, class, could be our generalization also about a certain subject matter or a topic. No? So we have to learn first gathering pieces of evidence or gathering pieces of information. And so we have to validate also this information so we could come up with a certain generalization. Is it clear? Let's move on. Now, we have now our relationship goals. I mean, the relationship between you and your subject in English, or you and the learning competency that you need to learn for this morning. We need to learn how to make generalization, of course. We have to enumerate the ideas presented in the text. We have to prove the validity, rather, and evidence of the ideas presented in the text. We have to determine the main idea of the listened material and reflect on the importance of making generalization. For us to start, you will be listening to a certain audio material. I want you in your notebook write the main idea of the news report that you will be listening, and I want you to create a generalization and provide at least 3 evidence from the material to support your idea. Are you ready? Okay, let's get it on.
Ang magandang tulong panlaban sa sakit? Ferrex DL alpha tocopherol acetate. Take it daily. More students are physically back in the classrooms. This time, they include more than 2,000 public elementary and high school students from Metro Manila. 28 schools in the capital region got the go signal to begin holding limited in-person classes. Students and teachers are just happy to be reunited, though things are not what they used to be.
Tulad po ng mga groupings, yun, di na po namin magagawa ngayon yun. So talagang pinag-iisipan po ng mga teacher kung ano yung makakabuti sa kanila, na safe po sila sa pag-aaral nila.
Basic health protocols are strictly implemented, from temperature checks to hand disinfection. But it's not always easy to follow rules, especially among the younger kids.
Yung mga bata na hindi talaga sanay mag-face mask, no? Especially the young learners. So maya't maya, inuubad nila yung face mask nila, no? Hindi maiwasan na nagdidikit-dikit sila. So all of these are part of the pilot study, no? So anong kailangan adjustment para maiwasan ito?
There were absences as well. At Pedro Cruz Elementary School in San Juan, over 80 students were supposed to come in, but only 62 showed up.
Mamaya po ay aalamin natin sa pamamagitan ng mga advisors kung ano yung mga naging dahilan ng mga bata na ito kung bakit hindi sila nakarating.
Still, education officials believe the pilot run for face-to-face classes has been a success so far. No COVID-19 cases have been reported among participating schools, and local officials support the gradual expansion of the pilot program.
Pag sa mga bahay sila, tapos minsan pupunta pang mall, makikipaglaro sa kapitbahay, hindi man natin makokontrol yun ng 100% eh. Lalo na sa mga lugar na maliliit talaga ang bahay. Hindi man pwede nakakulong lang yung bata. 10 square meters na bahay, 3 yung bata. Expect mo ba talaga na hindi lalabas yan for 2 years?
Currently, there are around 300 public and private basic education schools holding limited in-person classes. The DepEd wants to continue expanding the list of schools reopening, hoping that the new Omicron variant will not cause a change of plan.
But for now, wala pa naman tayong advisory, no? Coming from the health experts from the Department of Health regarding the Omicron.
AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
Now, I'll give you a minute to wrap up your notes or your jotted notes from the given audio material. Then I'll be back to get your main idea and your generalization about the audio material. If you have your generalizations already or your main idea, you may send it in our GC. So when I come back, checking our group chat, I could notify you, and acknowledge your answers. So, what is the news report all about, or what is the audio material talks about? Yeah, good job, no? It's all about how some schools or in some areas of the Philippines, no, or some schools in Metro Manila conducted the limited face-to-face classes, right? CNN report, no, they talk about how limited face-to-face classes are conducted in some public schools like what we are experiencing now, right? So can we make a generalization out of the given audio material or news report? Mm-hmm. So maybe one of your generalizations is there is a successful conduct of limited face-to-face classes, right? So can you give some of the evidence or pieces of evidence? Good job. According to the audio material, it is successful because no one reported, no, a case of a student who has, I mean, who got who tested positive in COVID-19 after the conduct of classes, right? Also, some protocols are followed in the conduct of face-to-face classes. That's why are what we successfully conduct, no, this limited F to F. Some more. Good job, you're learning, class. You learned how to make generalization. With that, let's watch this video for further information. All right. So if you want to watch the material again, class, I have here the link, or you could just search it in the YouTube, making generalization, and then I guess that's the first video. Okay. So I want to also, class, no, emphasize that making generalizations and making inferences or conclusions, class, no, are different, no, although they have all the same concepts, no, but then maybe in your senior high school you will be learning their differences. Okay, so just to have a quick definition of making generalization, again, it is a broad statement about a group of people or things, and states something they have in common. A generalization deals with what is true at all times. Okay, so how can you create a good generalization, no? You should support it with specific pieces of evidence that are significant or relevant to the generalization. Of course, your evidence, class, no, should have relevance and should be essential in your generalization. Paano ka makakapag-generalize kung hindi naman siya related to each other? When the paragraph consists of materials relevant to the generalization, the reader will consider it logical and will accept what the writer is saying is true. And that's our goal naman, di ba? We have to let other people believe in you. So you have to support your argument, your claim, your generalization with supporting details or pieces of evidence. Let's have this example. Let's say you generalize that your father likes fruits. No? So yun yung generalization mo. Paano mo masusuportahan? Paano mo mapapatunayan that your father really likes fruits? So you have simple evidence. This is just a simple example, class, for everyday living. So evidence number one mo, sabi mo, your father had banana for breakfast. You saw that your father ate banana in your breakfast. Your evidence number two, you saw also that he had a slice of papaya too. So therefore, na-conclude mo, na-generalize mo that your father likes fruits. Third evidence, he had a glass of mango juice too. So, di ba? Sino ba naman hindi makakapagsabi na hindi niya gusto ang fruits? So therefore, you come up, my father likes fruits because he had banana, he had orange juice, he had papaya too, no? So therefore, he likes fruits. Another example of generalization with a certain pieces of evidence, no? You generalize that the president of the Philippines has many powers. So ano yung mga evidence mo that he has many powers? Number one, the president can veto bills passed by Congress. Number two, the president has control over the executive branch. Number three, the president is the chief of the cabinet. And number four, the president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So if you're going to observe yung example natin in number one versus the example in number two, ito talaga may basis yung mga pieces of evidence mo. So pwede yun, no? Actually, mas mainam yun if you have your basis in your pieces of evidence. Let's say, ayan, katulad yan, it's under the Republic Act of our country talaga or under Constitution, kung ano yung mga pwedeng magawain na ng President, no, of the country. What are the duties and responsibilities? What are the job orders, no, of the President of the Philippines. So when you come up with your generalization, you can also use some basis, no, that will support your pieces of evidence. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. So I want you to write your answers in a piece of paper. Okay, so send your answers, class, in our GC. So I would recognize your answers. Okay, so at home, class, I want you to watch this video, and I want you to reflect on the importance of making generalization. But let's try. Okay, but for your class, what's the importance of having a generalization? Okay. So why is it important that we make generalizations? No, for me, class, making generalizations can help us understand more. Let's say when reading, no, understand more a text, no, or we can understand more a scenario. Let's say in real life situation, no. So we can come up with a certain output and product if we create a certain generalization. Okay, so let's create some generalization about the topic generalization by having the acronym AND, E-N-D. Okay, so I want you also to write down your answer in a piece of paper and send it in our GC. And last one, this will be your quiz for today. Okay. So all of the information